to 8 points at the top, but it means that Manchester City have the chance to close the gap to 5 if they beat Chelsea on Thursday night at Stamford Bridge. Newcastle still in 3rd place, ahead of Manchester United by virtue of goal difference. Manchester United still in action right now and beating Bournemouth with, 5-10 minutes still to play at Old Trafford. The final of the World Darts Championship continues right now on Sky Sports Darts, and in just a moment as well on Sky Sports Main Events. It's the 1st to 7, remember. And a new Sky original, Hold the Front Page, starring Josh Widdicombe and Nish Kumar, is available for you tomorrow on Sky Max. Much more from Paul Merson and Les Ferdinand in just a moment. We'll be joined by Gary Neville, as well as our analysis and reaction will come to you on Sky Sports Premier League. This is not dancing, by the way. This is frustration from Mikel Arteta at that last-minute handball decision that went against his side. We'll hear from him as well in just a moment.
You'll never stop this thing. I will never let you go.
Sponsored by Bet365.
Well, it was a night of frustration, really, at the Emirates tonight. Perhaps not for Newcastle, though they did have a big chance themselves to score just before half-time through Joe Linton. Eddie Nketiah on target there, but Nick Pope was up to that challenge. That was one of 4 efforts they had on target. 3 of those came in the second half. Just the 1 on target tonight from Newcastle. Arsenal with so many more passes in the final third and much more of the ball as well tonight. Double the touches in the opposition box, but they just couldn't make it count, and Newcastle held firm for a 6th consecutive clean sheet. And Arsenal's record of scoring every game this season has gone. Let's hear from one of that Newcastle rearguard, Dan Burn, now in conversation with Jeff Shreves.
Dan, well, Arsenal have won every game at home so far this season. You've got such a wretched record here. What sort of result is that?
Yeah, huge. To be fair, I thought Arsenal were really good. They were a tough team to figure out. The players move about a lot in midfield, so I think we struggled with the press. They started really well. Thought we weathered the storm for a bit, but I think it just shows how resilient we've been probably for the past year. And when we're not playing at our best, we're hard to beat.
How heavy was that storm, particularly in the first part of the game, and particularly on your side of the pitch?
Yeah, Saka's a great player. He can go both ways. I think the wingers helped us a lot, doubled up on him. I thought we sort of got the hang of him as the game went on. But yeah, I think we've got a good mix of young lads and experience in the team, and I think we know that once we weather the storm and we'd settled, I thought we grew into the game, and we were happy with the point.
Was it key tonight as well to be tactically spot on in terms of the distances between full-backs and centre-backs, plus getting help from midfield, doubling up, sometimes trebling up on their forward players in the wide areas? Yeah,
I think we do a lot of work on sort of converging on the ball. When the ball goes to the wingers, we try and get 3 players on them. And I think the way that they bring sort of Zinchenko into the midfield means they normally play sort of 5 forwards against our 4 back lads. So it's tough, mentally tough. But yeah, I'm happy with the way we performed tonight.
Did you know that 6 clean sheets in a row, which equals a club 40-year record? What does that tell us about what you're doing right now?
It just tells us that we're sort of believing in the philosophy, what the gaffer's brought in. We're a really sort of tight-knit group of lads, love working for each other. And I think it was sort of really important that we got that clean sheet tonight against Arsenal.
Were you looking to frustrate them as well, take the heat out of the game at times?
I think you've got to. I think if you go toe-to-toe with sort of a lot of good teams, sort of City and Liverpool as well, I think a lot of people just expect you to just let them win. But there's a lot of ways to win a football game, and yeah, that's what we thought we managed the game well.
Heart in the mouth when they were appealing for a penalty at the end?
Nah, I knew we were fine. VAR's fine, isn't it? Yeah, no bother.
Well done tonight.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Dan. Well done. Thank you.
He was confident, wasn't he, Dan Burn? Well, let's hear what his manager thought of that, because I'm delighted to say that Eddie Howe is downstairs and joins us live right now. Eddie, thanks so much for speaking to us. What did you think when you heard and saw those claims for a penalty in those final seconds? And tell us about that conversation that was ongoing with Mikel Arteta down there.
Well, obviously at that stage of the game you're thinking, please no, the lads are given so much to the game. That would have been a travesty for us. I didn't think it was a penalty just because of the proximity, but you just never know. And yeah, delighted. Me and Mikel, it was fine.
Tell us about the game itself then, Eddie. It seemed like there was a lot of frustration from the Arsenal team. But in terms of what you take from it?
I think a very, very good defensive display, very good mentality from the group. I think you saw real teamwork today. We weren't defending in ones. It was very much twos and threes, collective effort all around the pitch. I think Arsenal are very, very good. They pose you different problems. They really stretch you. And we knew defensively we needed to be rock solid. I don't think there was any period in the game where we were totally okay. It was real work all through the game. We did have our moments. I don't think we were great with the ball today, but we did have our moments, and we could have potentially nicked it on the counter-attack or from a set play.
Was it getting through that first 5 or 10 minutes when Arsenal really came at you?
Yeah, I think a couple of self-induced moments that gave us problems early in the game. I thought we settled down after 15, 20 minutes, got a foothold in midfield and started to play. But as I say, Arsenal, a top side, I think we did very well in the second half as pressure grew to be resilient. And I think Nick, had one save to make that I remember, one very good save. Apart from that, it was a lot of pressure, but most of it in front of us.
Moments yourself. I'm thinking about Joe Linton just before half-time, Eddie.
Yeah, no, we did, and I was a little bit disappointed we couldn't pose them more of a threat. Some of our counter-attacking wasn't of its normal level, but set plays as well at the end, we got a few you think we could have done better with. So, look, high standards, we're reaching high, but the lads are giving everything. I think you saw that today. The collective effort was superb.
8 hours and 45 minutes since your team conceded a goal. That must be a source of huge pride for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I don't like stats like that when they're read out because it's you're setting yourself up. But I sort of wanted to go under the radar, really, in terms of our defensive performance, which has been very, very good. As I say, that doesn't happen from 3 or 4 players. It has to happen from 11. And full credit to everyone.
Now a little bit, Eddie, about, I suppose, your thinking, your psychology going into this game, because we'd build it really as a possible title challenge here tonight. Yourselves coming here in third place, Arsenal top. How did you see it?
We wanted to attack the game. We wanted to be ourselves. The reality of that, I don't think we quite were. But I think that's credit to Arsenal with how they played. I think they forced us to sit a little bit deeper than we would normally want to. But sometimes you have to do that. In a game, you have to slightly tweak how you play to stay in the match. I felt we had to. We did. And the players deserve all the credit for coming through that test.
What do you think that's the next stage then of your development, Eddie, as a team? Because we've seen how solid you are defensively to go and really attack teams like Arsenal on their own grounds.
Well, we tried to do that today. That was the intention. So there was no backward steps in terms of our preparation. I think the next step for us is to have a little bit more quality on the ball. I think there were moments for us today to really hurt them, but a loose pass, loose touch, sort of broke those attacks down. So I think that's next in our evolution. But we're looking to improve all aspects of our game continually.
So that debate goes on, I guess, internally, Eddie. We've seen reports that perhaps there is a decision to be made whether more money is spent in January or you wait until the summer. How do you see it?
I think at the moment we're taking it day by day. We've got a strong team. We have a strong group of players who are giving everything. But we will assess, January is a long month, we'll assess what we need as it goes through. Certainly there's no intentions imminently to improve the squad, but that could possibly change.
Come through 3 difficult games post-World Cup without conceding a goal, adding 5 points as well to the tally. So you're still in third place. How do you see that race now? What can you tell us about the targets for the rest of the season?
Very boring response from me. There's no race from our perspective. This is just about being the best team that we can be on a continued basis. We need to improve. We're working hard to do that every day, as I say, with the players that we have, and that is our main goal.
Eddie, we wish you well. Thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
We didn't expect anything less from Eddie Howe at the end there. You sense as well, though, Les, a little bit of frustration on his part that they weren't able to create more themselves and show us there is some quality in that Newcastle team going forward.
And I think from the start of the game, that's what we thought they were going to do. We expected Arsenal to start quick. We expected Newcastle to defend, but we expected them to catch them on the counter. And to be honest, at no stage did we feel they did that. The quality of the ball up to the front man, the quality of the ball to the wide man, just wasn't there. But what I will say is every single one of those Newcastle players went to the welfare for Eddie tonight. And the wing backs, they they work back, the wingers work back to help the fullbacks. And as he said, every time Saka picked up the ball, Martinelli picked up the ball, there was 3 players on them. So to get back there and then to get back up the other end of the pitch was always going to be a tough task for them. And that's where their quality failed a little bit, especially in the second half. It was almost like attack versus defence.
Was it lack of quality, Paul, do you think? Or was it about the intent from Newcastle in possession?
It's hard, really, because 3 or 4 days ago, they're playing Leeds at home and they've got to win that game. So all their training's about attack, attack, attack. Then they come off the pitch, have a day's rest, and it's bang, we're playing against the best team in the country at the moment with the best home record, and we've got to defend. It's so hard to defend and then get up the other end and score goals. You know, whoever gets that, and probably Man City are the only ones, and sometimes they're Achilles' heels at the back. I thought they did well. I'm with Les. It's just their final pass. I think if they were more clinical and took time on their fight, and even been more stronger, I think there was a couple of times I thought they were quite weak where they could have held it up and they were getting brushed off the ball. But, yeah, I mean, I watched them get beat at Liverpool 2-1 when Liverpool scored in 98th minute. Since then, they haven't lost away from home. I think it's a great point. You know, Arsenal got to learn how to play against 10 behind the ball because that's the respect they've earned.
Well, you saw the frustration from Arsenal's spillover, didn't you, with that late penalty shout?
Yeah.
Eddie says no chance.
Yeah, I can't make a case for it if I'm being honest. I mean, it's drilled in. The lad's arm as well, Murphy's arm sort of behind him. I'd be disappointed if I've got that given against me, if I'm being honest. I think Dan Burns' one is more of a penalty.
Well, we'll come to that. What about this?
To be fair, Nurse did shout for a penalty when it went in there.
The whole stadium.
I'm surprised VAR didn't hear him, do you know what I mean? But no chance of that being a penalty. There's no way he can move his arm to him. You know, I suppose the reaction from the players causes the reaction from the manager as well. Because
it was more desperation, I think, than anything else, wasn't it? But this is what it's like to be a manager. So this is why you're a director of football, Les.
Don't worry, I get frustrated like that up in the stand as well. But
he said it was all fine on the touchline. There was the other penalty shout that you talked about, the one on Dan Burn.
Stonewall.
A little bit of a pull, you thought.
In my opinion, Stonewall, he's got a complete and utter grab of his shirt. You can see his fist is clenched as well, and he is proper pulling that back. I mean,
not enough according to Stockley Park.
That's a foul anywhere else on the football pitch. Look at that. That is absolutely... we've seen people get booked tonight. 2 or 3 people getting booked for stopping people running away from the ball, pulling people back. For me, I thought that was a Stonewall.
I don't understand how that is not clear and obvious. He's got hold of his shirt. Yeah. He stopped him attacking the ball. I mean, it's a clear-cut penalty. It's a clear-cut penalty. He's got hold of his shirt. I mean, I've seen them say it depends how long he's got hold of the shirt for, but...
Is that one of the muddiest areas still in officiating? The tangle that we see every time a set piece comes in, a wide free kick, a corner?
I think if players are bumping into each other and we see them get their arms around and sometimes it's a little bit clumsy. But when you've got hold of someone's shirt and you can see it as clear as day and you know, it's stretching, it's a penalty. You know, and when you're seeing it, there's no way we're looking at it and saying that's not a penalty.
And that's where I think the people in Stockley Park, in the van, wherever they are, have... I don't want to use the word clue, but they haven't got an understanding of the game. You know, that is, for me, is a penalty. There might be another game next week where someone just goes like that and grabs them, and then I can understand.
But is that not part of the new remit under Howard Webb, where they want to be softly, they want not to re-referee football matches as much as they possibly can?
Yeah, I can understand that, but as we say, that was so clear and obvious. He's clenched, his hands clenched with his shirt. For me, anywhere else on the football pitch, it is a free kick. And we see players get booked tonight for less than that.
The question I'd ask there is, if he doesn't hold his shirt, does he get the header on the ball? Does Gabriel get the header on the ball? And I think he does. So if you're stopping him from getting that header on the ball, it's got to be a foul. It's got to be.
Let's have another look at it, Les, and see if you can provide us the answer.
Here you go, look. He's on the run. Look who heads the ball. Oh, all right, the goalkeeper punches, but he stops him from going and jumping. We saw the jump he did in the first half where he put the ball just wide of the goal. It's in the same position. He stopped him from attacking the ball. for me, that's a penalty. I can't see how that's not clear and obvious.
That's what it came down to this game, didn't it? Those tiny moments. There wasn't the great chances for either side. Yes, Arsenal had more attempts on Newcastle's goal, but they stopped them scoring, Arsenal, for the first time since they played, guess who? Newcastle back in May. It's been that kind of night. We'll hear from Mikel Arteta in just a moment.
You'll never stop this thing. I will never let you go.
Sponsored by Bet365.
Confirmation of what's happened elsewhere tonight in the Premier League. A goalless draw here at the Emirates. A bruising night for Frank Lampard's Everton just days after the draw at Man City. They've been beaten 4-1 at home by Brighton. Mitoma, 18-year-old Evan Ferguson scoring again. Solly Marsh and Pascal Gross all on the score sheet. Damari Gray from the spot for Everton late on. Fulham winning again. Mitrovic, the scorer, no surprises there. His 11th of the season. That's 3 straight wins for them since the World Cup. The only other side that's managed that so far, Manchester United, 3-0 victory over Bournemouth tonight. Casemiro, Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford on the score sheet again. 4 in 4 for him since the World Cup. Scan that QR code right now. It will take you straight to all the goals and the highlights on the Sky Sports app. And that leaves us looking like this, with Arsenal 8 points clear of Manchester City, who play at Chelsea tomorrow. Newcastle United in third, level on points with Manchester United. But Manchester United, that is, now have a game in hand, having made it 4 straight wins. They've cemented their place in the top 4. Then it's Spurs, Liverpool, Fulham climbing. What a brilliant season they're having back in the Premier League under Marco Silva. Brighton climbing as well into 8th. Chelsea slipping down to 10th place this evening, and at the bottom Leicester in 13th place. It's been a miserable return for them since the World Cup, 3 straight defeats. Bournemouth in 15, also 3 straight defeats for them since the World Cup, and Everton's goal difference taking a bit of a knock tonight. They stay though in 16th place, the bottom 4 of West Ham, Forest, Wolves and Southampton. Forest and Southampton playing each other, of course, tomorrow night. Disappointments, the theme here at the Emirates tonight. Arsenal's 100% home record is gone. Goalless draw with Newcastle. Mikel Arteta's thoughts now with Jeff Shreves.
Mikel, what's your overall thoughts on that?
Extremely proud of my players. The way we played, the way we dominated the game, the way we tried, the way we continued, the way we controlled the game. And we missed in the final third. That spark to find the final pass, because we had so many situations to finish those situations better. And then we had 2 scandalous penalties.
Which do you think was the stronger claim of the 2? The Dan Burn pull?
It's not about the stronger. There are 2 penalties. That's very simple.
The referee offer any opinion to you as to why not afterwards?
I'm not talking. I'm talking about what I've seen now, and it's 2 scandalous penalties.
So what's your thought process on why VAR didn't give it then?
I don't know. I'm so proud of the work that we've done to see a team that plays the way we play today again.
Do you think it was a case, do you think you had enough chances to win the game and you didn't take those chances, or do you have to give Newcastle credit for the way they kept you at bay?
I think we generated a lot of situations, a lot of superiority in the game, but we lacked the fact that we needed an extra touch, an extra pass, an extra movement to get clearer chances. But we had, I think, enough chances to win the game.
Was it frustrating for you?
No. I'm so proud of this team.
Do you think as well, the way you're playing now, that you're going to get more teams come here on nights like tonight and set up in the way that Newcastle did? In a way, it's a compliment to you.
That Newcastle wanted to set up like this. That is not the way they play. They haven't played against any team like this. So it's great to our players.
What do you think of a point overall tonight?
Well, that you cannot win, you don't lose. We get a clean sheet, we had a really good performance, and we go again.
Does it feel like 2 points dropped this?
No, I wanted to win the game, but we draw it, and we should have done certain things better, especially in the final third, and we should have 2 penalties to win the game, and then it was a different story.
Did you have enough on the bench to change the game at all?
Well, we had what we have. Obviously, we had some injuries as well, and in attacking areas, we don't have that many options, but it's what it is. I'm so proud of them.
You're proud of them, but the window is open. Do you need more options, and quickly?
That's something that we always try to improve our team, and every window is really important because we still have a lot of things to do in this team.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you very much.
Well, we'll explore that theme in just a moment, but Gary Neville has joined us. Scandalous, the penalty decisions, Gary. First of all, the handball. Did you think it was?
The one near the end?
Yeah.
I thought it would have been scandalous if it was given.
Explain to Mikel Arteta why this is not a penalty.
If Mikel Arteta had lost a game of football giving away a penalty like this, he would be absolutely fuming. You know, at the amount of times that I think I used to slide in and try and block crosses, and your arm has to be somewhere. You cannot have your arms by your side when you slide in to block a shot. You know, his arm's not up in the air. His arm's just in a position like that. I mean, that is not a penalty. Never in a million years is that a penalty. You go in like that to block a cross, your foot's there, your arm's there, it could hit you there, it could hit you there. It's never a penalty in a million years. That is not a penalty. Mikel Arteta would not want that given against Zinchenko or against Ben White or against Tomiyasu. He'd be fuming, so that's not a penalty.
What about the Dan Burn tug on Gabriel?
That one he's got a right to be annoyed with. What I think the problem is here is that under Howard Webb, the VAR officials have been told, light touch, don't get involved unless you really have to. They should have got involved here. You know,
when it was enough there.
Yeah, when you're pulling the shirt off someone's shoulder and you think about it, the actual the sponsorship logo on the front of the shirt is over the shoulder of the player. You've pulled the shirt off the back nearly there. So I said at the time, they're very lucky there, Newcastle. Very lucky.
So you can understand his frustration overall.
On the second one, yeah, the handball one at the end, you know, I think Eddie Howe was right to respond to that on the touchline because that was never a penalty. And I think that, to be fair, Arsenal were on the edge there. But, you know, it's fine. They wanted to win the game. The first one, I think they can be aggrieved.
Do you think they had enough to win the game? They did enough to win the game?
Not really. No. Pope made one great save in the second half from Nketiah, and that was a great save. Anything that goes through a defender's legs at an angle, it's a good save. Bar that, didn't really pepper the goal, didn't have a lot of shots. I thought they run out of ideas, if I'm being honest. I thought they made the wrong decisions too many times, wasn't patient enough. They got to get used to that. They've earned the right now for teams to come here. I mean, and this is a top 3 team. You wait till they go and play against the bottom 6 teams. Wow, they won't even come out from 40 yards out, you know, and they'll look for a set piece. But that's what you've got to do if you want to be a successful team. You know, I go to Stamford Bridge. You kick off at Stamford Bridge, teams just run back and sit in front of their goal. That's why Lukaku don't play for Chelsea anymore. There's no space behind, you know, and this is the problem. And Arsenal have earned that right. And that's why these successful teams like your Liverpools and your Man Cities, they find ways to break people down. But we could have been sitting here a lot different and waxing lyric where we'd have gone, Arsenal jumped out the traps. They could have scored after 2 or 3 minutes again. Then they would have run away with this game. They would have won 3 or 4. But they didn't get that early goal and they sort of run out of ideas, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it was stalemate at the end because Arsenal... The interesting thing was Vieira, I think he was £34 million. Mikel Arteta felt that if he brought him on, he would obviously have weakened his team to try and win that game tonight. So he hasn't got faith in his bench to improve the team that was out there. They do rely upon the perfect pass and the thread. They haven't got full-backs that deliver really good crosses. They haven't got a midfield player that switches play up, puts a De Bruyne-style crosses. So they're always reliant upon those short bits of play around the box, which Newcastle, to be fair, defended so well and so resiliently and so compactly, made it really difficult for them. And they didn't have another plan off the bench.
But what they've got has been working pretty well so
look,
far.
To be fair, tonight, I think that plan tonight would have worked against probably maybe 10, 15 other teams in the league. They didn't play badly tonight, Arsenal. Newcastle just did really well in their defence. They were compact. They kept clean sheet after clean sheet. And Arsenal just ran out of ideas in this game. But I do think Mikel Arteta should have something more to call upon on the bench when you're trying to change the flow of a game at the end. And he will need to go into the transfer market if Arsenal... Because, look, Arsenal are in the position whereby they can win the league here. So... when are they going to be in that position again? You don't know when you're going to be in that position again. So can the Arsenal board, can the Arsenal owners find those 2 players that can come off the bench, that can maybe even improve the first 11, that would bolster Arsenal's chances of winning that game and turning it from 1 into 3 points? Because, look, there's how many games left have they got now? 21 games still to go. They're going to have a lot more of those, as you've just said, where they're going to be basically up against it. They might be 1-0 down, need 2 goals. That's going to happen as well. So they need something off the bench for Mikel Arteta to be able to go and get. Do
you think that is the kind of conversation they're going to be having right now, especially brought on by the absence of Gabriel Jesus for we're not sure how long?
Yeah, and that's the point I was going to make. When you look at Jesus in this side, what he does when he gets on the ball and he takes people on and he gets into those boxes, into the box, and causes a problem. They didn't quite have that today. And Nketiah tried on a few occasions, and as Paul said, had that one shot. But they're going to need to do something a little bit different. You talk about the wing-backs crossing the ball. I think you cross the ball, you ain't got no one to cross to when you're, as an Arsenal centre-forward. There's no one to cross to. So they have to try and work it the way they have tried to work it today to try and get opportunities.
He's come as close as anyone, though, really, Eddie Nketiah, to scoring tonight, hasn't he?
I thought he was bang unlucky with his effort. You know, considering you're not getting a lot of play, you know, it was really tight, not a lot of space for him. I thought the kid done well. I thought he stuck at it. And the name of the game, when you're not getting a lot, this was brilliant. I thought that was absolutely brilliant play, that was. You know, Xhaka should have done a lot better. But yeah, but his chance to be cold and get the chance was decent. I don't really want him where he was just a minute ago on the halfway line, turning and trying to pick people out. He needs to be in the box. But he did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. And if he scores the goal, we'll be going 3-3 and everything's great. You're working on margins, just margins. It's so hard, this Premier League.
It was a good experience tonight, you know, for Saka, Martinelli and Nketiah, because they had defenders up against them, but not just defenders, but they had a midfield that were willing to work back and double up with them as well. And I think they're not going to come up against that too often. But what the players now are conditioned to continue to do the same things. That's what they're told. I think maybe a few years ago you might have said, try something different. That's why I was urging Zinchenko. Zinchenko plays a brilliant position for Arsenal. He blocks counter-attacks, he keeps possession for them, he sustains attacks. But could he have been that extra player forward on that left-hand side that made it maybe a little bit different for, say, Trippier with Martinelli? Could they have done something different within the sort of game, within the structure that they had? Could Saka have maybe gone and played closer to his centre-forward maybe for 5 minutes? Could Martinelli have gone... something different that I think they could have maybe done.
I think maybe even just change sides.
Yeah.
Because they were doubling up all the time. The two wingers, because they're doubling up, when they go down the wing, they're always coming back on themselves. So the doubling up man has got to stay there. Now, if you swap sides, he's going to go down the wing. Now, the doubling up man don't come into the equation because you're not cutting back. You're going that way.
Pep does that sometimes with Foden. He brings him onto the left, doesn't he, so he can go down the left-hand side. You're
right.
He
takes out the doubling up.
Just do something that changes it.
It is only the third time this season they've dropped points.
Oh, well, that's how good they've been.
Would you agree with Gary's general point that possibly to take that final step, they need something else going forward?
100%. They need at least two players. As you said tonight, they run out of ideas and they've got nobody to come on. They've got a lad who's £34 million. They haven't brought him on. You know, in the end, when push comes to shove, you're better off not losing the game, which they never. You know, if you all of a sudden put another player on and all of a sudden you attack, you know, they would have been. I know Newcastle didn't pick the right pass, but you've got Sam Maximus, you've got pace on the counter-attack. You don't want to lose the game. You know, I've seen Arsenal here many a time in a game like this where they've dominated and you come off the pitch scratching your head, you've lost 1-0. Yeah. That's another point.
Eddie Howe changed his front three. Murphy, Sam Maximan and Wood, and Mikel Arteta couldn't. He didn't have that luxury.
I'm just thinking, could you have done something like, you know, I just think about Pep, and I know he's learnt a lot off Pep. Do you just take off one of your centre-halves or push one of your centre-halves up and cause a problem? Just do something different, you know, instead of just trying to play, get the ball into him and get the pieces in and around.
The manager.
Exactly, just get something in and around him. Just do something different, and they didn't do that.
They need to do something, didn't they? They needed to interfere with the stalemate. You know, if it's going nowhere a game and the pressure's on you to win, you have to do something either off the side of the pitch with the manager or on the pitch to interfere with that. Just don't think Arsenal tonight, and I don't think they played badly at all. I think they played quite well in the game. They could have won. They've been brilliant all season. They just didn't interfere with Newcastle, who's got quite stable and structure. You know, they were compact and did really well defensively. They just didn't disrupt them enough.
All right, a wider look at what's happened elsewhere tonight in just a moment here on Sky Sports Premier League, because it's been a really good night for Manchester United and yet again for Marcus Rashford and Casemiro. Another clean sheet for David De Gea, but frustration builds at Goodison Park as well. A bruising defeat tonight for them. And a pretty good night all round. Another clean sheet for Eddie Howe's Newcastle. Do stay with us.
You'll never stop this thing. I will never let you go.
Sky Sports Premier League. Feel it all.
United hit the bullseye again at home to Bournemouth tonight. 3-0 victory, Gary. 4 straight wins now, clean sweep since the World Cup, just 1 point behind Manchester City now. Starting to look a little rosier at Old Trafford.
Yeah, they're getting stronger. I'm just saying there, I think they've got a lot more players than Arsenal. And McAllister is doing an incredible job because you feel that he's so finely tuned. If he lost a centre-back, he'd be in trouble. Whereas with United, they've got 4 centre-backs, much of a muchness, but they've got that strength in depth. I think there's a long way to go. This is really interesting the next few weeks. United have got City next at home.
City next, then Arsenal.
Then Arsenal
away.
here, which is just really tough. So we'll know a lot more in a few weeks. Look, before this game tonight, there was 16 games played. That is nowhere near title talk. You're miles away, absolutely miles away. And these two teams tonight, I know there's been title talk. I didn't see the champions here tonight, personally, but I didn't think they were champions at the start of the season, so where they are is remarkable. So,
but just on Manchester United, though, Gary, I think I remember at the start of the season you were saying not top 4, forget top 4 for this season.
Absolutely.
But from this position now, would you be disappointed if they don't finish in the top 4?
Yes, but again, still only 17 games gone. A long way to go. Anything can happen. But they just look like they've got something going. They've got a bit of experience about them in the midfield. Eriksen, Casemiro, Fernandes. It looks wiser.
Rashford, player in form.
Rashford's in form. They've got forwards that are a little bit more. They need a forward, but they've got forwards that are in form. The punch in the weight defensively, it doesn't look that strong, but they're doing okay. And look, at the moment, the manager's got something. I think that spirit of the coming through the situation with Cristiano Ronaldo, coming through the situation with Maguire, coming through the difficult start to the season, they've all bonded, probably bonded together more than what probably they would have done if they'd just had an ordinary start. That's, you know, a normal first 4 or 5 months of the season. Ten Hag is in a strong position there now to be able to call the shots. They need to get him a striker, though.
Well, everybody wants a striker right now. I'd imagine Everton you can put among those teams as well. Beaten tonight by 4-1 at home to Brighton. 3 of those goals from Brighton came in a 6-minute period in the second half. 1 win in 10 now for Frank Lampard. How concerning will this particular result be? Just coming off the back of that draw at the Etihad, which showed great promise.
Yeah, which you thought would give them a little bit of a boost, but unfortunately, going home and losing 4-1 doesn't bode well, does it? I would hate to be at Goodison Park right now to listen to what the supporters had to say, but it's tough for Frank. 1 win in 10.
Needs a break, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's hard. You go to the Etihad, you know you're going to sit 10 behind the ball, and you get a counter attack, you score, you draw 1-1. Then you've got the worst game in the world playing at home to Brighton, who are a very good football team. You've got to go and attack them, and then you get picked off for fun. 4-1, they're in trouble. They need a break. FA Cup. And then all of a sudden, who they get? Man United away. I mean, it just gets worse. It's a nightmare. I've been a manager when it's just, not at that standard, but even lower down, it's still a nightmare. The fixtures you never get that give me fixture when you need it. Do you know what I mean? You just don't.
Let's say again, a really good night for Fulham again for Marco Silva. They won 3 straight games off the back of the World Cup. I want to talk about the other club in West London, or another of the clubs in West London, Chelsea, who we watch on Thursday night against Manchester City. Another team you could say, Paul, that they're desperately in need of a striker right now.
Oh, every team needs a striker. Wolves need a striker. Everybody needs one. Yeah, big football match. Big football match for Chelsea, and more so than for Man City, in my opinion. I think Man City now, watching tonight, the pressure's not majorly on them to go and win the football match. Chelsea need to win. I mean, they're 10th in the league, and they're chasing down like Liverpool's. They're not chasing down 3 teams that have never been there. They're chasing down Tottenham, Liverpool, Man United. That's going to be hard to do. They need to win this football match, in my opinion, and not lose.
The ownership's not settled at Chelsea. It's chaotic. It has been from minute 1.
You're dropping another last-minute ownership one in.
No, but it has. It's just been a
Wait a minute.
Well, I was going to ask, if Manchester City win that, or is it already? I was going to say, is that advantage City? But is it already? Do you think, off the back of this tonight? Arsenal still ain't clear.
They're 8 clear, but I think Man City. I don't think Pep's sitting at home thinking, "I've got too much to worry about." I think he gets his Man City team playing in the way we know they can play. And the one thing they have got is a centre forward. Yeah. Everyone else is talking about centre forwards.
They got 2.
They're a dying breed at the moment. Centre forwards, number 9s, and it's just showing that clubs need them.
And could that be the difference?
City just need to. They just need to wake themselves up a little bit, give themselves a little bit of a slap round the face. and start playing properly now and doing their job properly. Obviously, you don't mean to obviously drop points, but you know, sometimes it can happen before Christmas when the games don't feel as important as they should be. These players require high stakes games. I think once they get to see that they're 8 points behind, could have been 10 tonight if Arsenal win, that starts to get quite serious, and then you think they're going to kick in. I think it's a big night for City on Thursday because I think they can send a message to everybody. You know, I said earlier on the season I thought City would win the league by 10 to 15 points, and I've not changed my mind on that, but I'm less sure about it than I was, obviously, because of the fact that they're 8 points behind.
Looking forward to it. Gary, thank you for rejoining us. Paul, Les, really enjoyed your company tonight. And let's just remind you what we've got still to come in this terrific New Year's week of football with the London Derby for you tomorrow night. Feels big as well for Spurs, doesn't it, as they head to Crystal Palace, who refound some form last time out, 7:30 there. And 6:30 we start on Thursday night at Stamford Bridge. As you heard, it's Chelsea taking on Manchester City. And here at the Emirates, Arsenal hit a black and white wall tonight, but they are still 8 points clear. Bye from us.